That first sip of whiskey, within minutes, it starts a cascade of chemical reactions in your brain, making you feel relaxed, confident, and rewarded. It's a feeling many of us know. But what's really happening inside your body in those first few moments? And how does that compare to what happens when one sip becomes one bottle? The answer is the difference between a fleeting pleasure and a biological crisis. This is the story of two vastly different journeys through your body, started by the exact same substance. When you take that first sip, the journey begins. A tiny fraction of alcohol is absorbed through the lining of your mouth, but the real absorption starts after you swallow. Around 20% enters the bloodstream through your stomach, but most of it is absorbed in the small intestine. Since alcohol is a small molecule, it doesn't need to be digested and crosses into your blood with ease. Within minutes, it reaches its main destination, your brain. Once there, alcohol begins to alter your brain's delicate chemistry. It's a central nervous system depressant, but its first effects can feel quite the opposite. Why? Because it starts by influencing the brain's reward system. Alcohol encourages the release of dopamine, the feel-good chemical, linked to pleasure and motivation, and also influences other mood regulators like serotonin. This chemical cocktail is what we call the buzz. That feeling of relaxation, the easing of social anxiety, and the warm sense of well-being that makes a drink so appealing. At the same time, alcohol enhances the effects of a neurotransmitter called GABA, which is your brain's main brake pedal. GABA slows down brain activity, which is why you feel calm and your inhibitions lower. It also suppresses glutamate, the brain's main gas pedal, which is responsible for excitement. These initial effects are especially noticeable in your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain behind your forehead that acts as your CEO. This area governs judgment, reasoning, and impulse control. With one sip, the CEO gets just a little drowsy. Your self-control loosens, you might feel more talkative, and daily worries start to fade. It's a subtle, manageable shift. Meanwhile, your liver, the body's master detoxification organ, is already on the job. Think of your liver as a highly efficient processing plant. A single sip of whiskey is like a small package arriving. The liver's enzymes, mainly one called alcohol dehydrogenase, easily grab that package, break down the alcohol into a substance called acetaldehyde, and then an enzyme called aldehyde dehydrogenase quickly converts that into harmless acetate, which your body can use for energy. With a small dose, this process is generally seamless. The effects are pleasant and temporary. Your body is in control. If you're finding this breakdown of your body's chemistry useful, consider subscribing for more science-backed health insights. We're about to see how this entire process changes when the system is pushed to its absolute limit. But what happens when one sip becomes one drink, and then one bottle over an evening? The journey through your body changes dramatically. The chemical messenger of pleasure becomes a systemic poison. The efficient processing plant is about to face a catastrophic flood. Consuming a full bottle of whiskey in one evening is a form of extreme heavy drinking. A standard 750 milliliter bottle of 80 proof whiskey contains around 16 to 17 standard drinks. Your liver, on average, can only metabolize about one standard drink per hour, though this rate varies from person to person. Do the math, and you see the problem. You're pouring a toxic substance into your body far faster than your system can clear it. As you consume multiple drinks, your liver is immediately overwhelmed. The conveyor belt is no longer handling single packages, it's an avalanche. The alcohol dehydrogenase enzymes are working at maximum capacity. Because the liver can't clear the alcohol fast enough, its concentration in your bloodstream, your blood alcohol concentration, or BAC, shoots to dangerous levels. This creates a dangerous bottleneck. As the liver struggles, the first byproduct of alcohol metabolism, acetaldehyde, can start to accumulate. And this is a critical fact. Acetaldehyde is a toxin. It's a recognized carcinogen, and it's significantly more damaging to your cells than alcohol itself. As your BAC skyrockets, the effects on your brain are no longer subtle. They're profound and debilitating. The drowsy CEO in your prefrontal cortex is now completely unconscious, leading to a near total loss of judgment and impulse control. Next, the alcohol assault moves to your cerebellum, the brain region at the back responsible for balance and coordination. When the cerebellum is impaired, speech becomes slurred, hands get shaky, and walking a straight line becomes impossible. As the hours press on, the situation gets worse. Widespread depression of your central nervous system leads to blurred vision, dulled hearing, and confusion. Crucially, alcohol also begins to shut down your hippocampus, the brain region responsible for forming new memories. This is the biological reason for a blackout. Your brain is so impaired that it simply stops recording events. Now we enter the crash phase. Passing out from alcohol isn't sleep, it's a state of unconsciousness. And the sleep that follows is a biological battleground. Alcohol's sedative effects might make you doze off quickly, but this is a trap. Your brain, recognizing it's being suppressed, fights back by adapting its chemical balance, making itself more sensitive to excitatory signals to try and stay awake. A few hours later, as the alcohol starts to wear off, the sedative is gone, but your brain is still in this hyper-aroused state. This is called a glutamate rebound. It's why you often wake up suddenly, heart racing, mind anxious, and unable to fall back into a deep, restful sleep. This leads directly to the hangover, which is a full-body crisis. You're dehydrated because alcohol is a diuretic, causing your kidneys to flush out more water. Your stomach lining is irritated, leading to nausea. Your immune system has launched an inflammatory response to the toxic assault. And your body is still working to clear the poisonous acetaldehyde, which contributes to headaches, fatigue, and that general feeling of misery. When one night of heavy drinking turns into a regular habit, the body's response shifts from acute crisis to chronic, systemic decay. One of the first things that develops is tolerance. Regular drinkers may not feel as intoxicated, but don't be fooled. Their brains have adapted to function in a state of chemical siege, but the damage isn't just still happening, it's accumulating. Chronic heavy drinking leads to devastating long-term consequences. The liver, which takes the biggest hit, begins to fail. A common progression starts with fatty liver disease, which can then advance to alcoholic hepatitis, and finally to irreversible cirrhosis, where healthy liver tissue is replaced by dead scar tissue. The brain itself physically suffers. Brain imaging studies show that long-term heavy alcohol use can lead to brain atrophy, a literal shrinkage of the brain. This damage is especially pronounced in the prefrontal cortex, crippling decision-making, the cerebellum, permanently affecting coordination, and the hippocampus, leading to severe long-term memory problems. Alcohol is a neurotoxin, and over time, it dismantles the very organ it first made feel so good. So, one substance, two completely different stories. A single sip of whiskey is a neurological nudge. It co-opts your brain's reward system for a fleeting pleasure, a chemical trick that a healthy body can easily manage. A bottle of whiskey is a systemic assault. It overwhelms your liver, floods your body with a toxic carcinogen, and systematically shuts down your brain from front to back, from judgment to memory to consciousness itself. The pleasure is long gone, replaced by a multi-front biological war. The difference isn't in the whiskey, it's in the dose. However, it's important to remember that risk is personal, and for some people, due to genetics, health conditions, or other factors, even small amounts of alcohol can be harmful. Still, understanding this journey, from the first rush of dopamine to the long-term corrosion of your organs, is a key step toward making informed decisions. With sustained abstinence, some of the damage to the brain may even be reversible. If this video has provided valuable insight, please consider subscribing and sharing. And if you or someone you know is struggling with alcohol, know that there are resources available to help. Understanding what's really happening inside is the first step toward making a change.